One of the most revered fighters in combat sports is Lerdsila. His head movement is legendary. He apparently had a 100-fight winning streak, and he is somebody that I faced and defeated. Now, this episode, I'm not putting it together to discredit Lerdsila or to give myself an awesome pat on the back, because yes, I am very proud of my victory against him, but I know what I've done, and you guys know I've beat him. Today we're going to be talking about how to go about defeating somebody like this, who has this big, larger-than-life status when you go against him. How do you get past that mindset? Plus we're going to look at what he's best at, and basically how I made the most untouchable fighter in the world somebody that I could connect with and knock down. Lerdsila is really somebody who over the past 10 years has gained this, I don't want to say cult following, but this following of people who just go, man, this dude is so untouchable. And really, with so many opponents, he was. What he was able to do with his head and his legs to evade shots was fantastic. His ability to catch kicks and throw people down was almost just as awesome. But we've had many people, many YouTube creators who have covered Lerdsila and given him this status that, oh my gosh, this guy could not be hit, where that's just not true. Myself and one of the guys in ONE FC more recently had done a very good job putting leather on this dude. And even though he still is amazing at evading, and he actually had some fantastic moments against me, where he made me look silly after I knocked him down, where he just slipped and slipped and slipped. There are still ways to defeat these people, and we have to recognize they are still humans and not this god in the Muay Thai world. And everybody around the world who's watching right now, please keep in mind that there is an opportunity to train with me via Zoom privates. So the very first thing, which is naturally going to happen when anybody out there faces somebody who has a better status than them, we put them up on a pedestal. And when you put somebody up too high on a pedestal at the wrong moments, you've already mentally lost. And if there's anything you're going to take away from this episode, if you're somebody who's looking to compete, it's going to be you cannot keep them on a pedestal once you step into the ring. If I had one piece of advice to give you, I would say put them up there during your whole fight camp. Recognize how good they are. Make that motivate you to train harder than you've ever trained. And then as soon as you step in the ring, that goes away. There is no more respect. You are there to defeat them, and they are just somebody who is another win on your record. And that is exactly what I had to do against Lerdsila. I had to look at everything he was exceptional at, watch him pick people apart, dummy people, throw them to the ground, make them look silly, go, wow, look at what this guy can do. And then go, he's not going to do it to me. And like I said, you don't have to wait until you reach somebody who has this amazing status to have that mindset. This happened to me time and time again through my career. I was at one point 10-0. I'm like, yeah, I'm 10-0. Then I fought a guy who was 12-0. I'm like, oh shoot, this guy's undefeated, but he's done it 2 more times than me. And then I started moving up, and I'd fight guys who had titles, and I'd go, oh, this guy's a champion, what am I gonna do? And then you have your first fight in some slightly bigger promotion. You go, oh, this guy has more experience with big TVs, like big networks, showing the fight. There's always something that's gonna make you put your opponent up on a pedestal. But you just cannot maintain that once you step in. And that's where I feel a lot of people fall short. They don't do those two things. They don't either give them enough respect during fight camp, or they don't take away that respect when they start fighting. And I was able to do both against Lerdsila. And it's something that I advise everybody else out there do as well. Make sure you put that person on a pedestal and then walk through them when it's fight time. And then once you're done, reflect back and go, yeah, this dude's really good. Like, he was really good, and I was just lucky enough to get the win. But let's talk about why Lerdsila was so successful. How did he go about having so many victories, making so many opponents look completely underskilled. I mean, that head movement that he has is just exceptional. And one of the first things which you should recognize when you're watching him is it's not just his ability to slip side to side. One of the hardest parts about facing him is his ability to get his head completely out of range. That extension that he has in his back is completely wild. And you'll see videos of him pushing a bag that kind of goes around hip chest level. He'll push the bag, let it swing towards him, and then he'll get under it. And it just does not feel even possible for me. Like I can, like max dip is probably around there. I feel like I would just get smacked right in the face. So he has some extra amazing abilities to probably like just limbo under the smallest height. And that makes it very hard to actually land on him when he leans back that far. But aside from that, obviously his eyesight is so exceptional. And when you look at somebody like him, do you go, is he the fastest person in the world? Is his head movement like, no, it's not that. It's that his eyes are so locked on. He doesn't lose sight and he sees exactly what is coming. He does the minimal work required. And most importantly, in my mind, he always gets himself back to a proper position. He doesn't hang here for too long and then get his leg chopped. He'll lean back, get back up, and then be able to check the low kick. If he checks a low kick right away, he's moving his head to the side. He's always returning to a strong, solid position. Now, as I mentioned early in the episode, even though fighters like Lerdsila deserve all the respect in the world, and I have nothing but respect for this guy, I think it's sometimes still good to call into question the godlike status which they acquire. And we've seen time and time again, people say 100 fight win streak for Lerdsila, didn't lose for 100 fights. And as much as I've scoured the internet and I've seen people time and time again say this, I cannot find when it happened. I can't find how long it lasted. And it makes me question, is it really true? And if you go in against somebody and think, oh, they've had a 100 fight win streak, but you don't do any research to back it up and see if it's real, how do you even know that that godlike status is actually deserved? And once again, I don't even know if that's a true thing, or if just a bunch of people are jumping on it or have misinformation. So when I was getting ready to face Lerdsila, I went, 3 things. Let's get 3 things down that this guy is amazing at. And let's make sure we nullify those as much as possible. Number 1, he's crazy hard to hit. Like so darn hard. So we gotta solve that puzzle. Number 2, he can flash those head kicks up super fast. How are we gonna stop that? Are we gonna try and move around? Are we gonna do anything fancy? No, we're not gonna do that. We'll have a game plan. And number 3, his ability to catch kicks and throw people is exceptional. So we have to deal with that as well. So first off, how did we decide to go about dealing with the fact that nobody can touch this guy? You throw at his head, you throw at his head, you throw at his leg, he just evades it all. Very simple. Aim for the body. Not solely for the body, but aim for the body and then switch levels. Hit the body, go to the head, hit the body, come down to the leg. Or lead to the leg, get this guy solid for a second, and then attack. You have to diversify. And so many people make the mistake of going, oh, I missed. Let's try again, let's try again, let's try again. Bad idea. So we drilled time and time and time again to make sure that we were switching levels. And like I said, most importantly, just even hit the chest. That's fine. It's better off hitting the chest than missing, because as most of you know, when you do pad work, if somebody accidentally moves the pad and you don't hit it and you try and follow into the next technique, it's not going to flow as well as if you connect. Missing is always going to throw you off for your next shot. So instead of going, okay, we're gonna step forward, miss, and then maybe land, it's hit, and have much higher chance of having that final punch actually connect. The next problem to solve was, okay, how are we not gonna get head kick KO'd? This guy has knocked down so many people with head kicks. They flash up there. What's the strategy gonna be? We kept it simple. Hands up the whole darn time. Don't mess around, don't try and catch, because if you go to the body and you try and snag a kick, you might end up getting hit in the head. So even from the early stages of the fight, I check kicks, I block kicks, I'll even take a kick off the forearm, but I'm not gonna reach. And I'm not gonna expose my head, because it only takes one mistake for this guy to put you out. The final big problem was, do I let my legs go? Do I just make this fight all about boxing because when people throw kicks against him, he just tosses them? And that's a big problem, because if you get thrown again and again and again, and every time you have to get back up and the judges are going, oh, okay, for the last 10 seconds, that guy hasn't had to do anything. Like Lerdzila's on his feet, his opponent's on the ground getting up. This guy just racks up points constantly. So we had to make sure we weren't going to end up in that position. How did I do that? Chop the legs. It's a lot harder to toss somebody when you hit their legs. It's not impossible, but it's much harder. We can still catch kicks, do some sort of fancy thing, come and sweep them, but in general, going right to the body is going to be much easier for people to grab. So a lot of low kicks. But overall, really focus on the hands. When I did have success with the legs, going up a little higher, it was up to head level. And it was at the points where he was being very evasive, because in those moments he was most focused on defense and not focused on, oh, okay, I'm going to be trying to catch. It's just evade the punches which I was throwing. And when I started landing to his chest, all of a sudden things become much more difficult for him. And my defense, although not the same as Lerdzila's, is actually pretty darn good. I'm putting together a defense course. The waitlist is now open. Get yourself registered. Again though, I don't need to go through a step-by-step analysis of everything we did before the camp, during the camp, on fight night, in this episode. The main thing that you need to take away is if you're ever fighting and you feel like somebody's more experienced than you, or a little better than you, or they've had extra time in the new rule set you're gonna fight in, or they're a champion, or all these things which make you think, oh, this guy has an advantage, let that drive you as you train, and then once you get into the ring, remove it, because too much respect during the fight will absolutely break you down mentally. And I really believe that was the difference between me fighting Lerdsila and everybody else who lost against him. They gave him too much respect, and at the end of the day, if you give somebody that amount of respect, you're not gonna fight your game. And if you fight like Lerdsila wants to, you stand in front of him, you do the slipping thing with him, you try to be a Muay Thai fighter, you're gonna lose. 100%, you're gonna lose. He is too good. There's hardly anybody in the world who can defeat him in that way. You have to have a game plan, you have to execute, and you have to be able to not put that person up on a pedestal. Lerdsila though, I mean really, nothing negative to say about him. What a champion. I was very lucky to get the opportunity to fight him. Nobody else would. At that time, they messaged me and said, look, we have this Thai fighter, nobody will fight him, will you take this fight? And it wasn't so much because of him, it was because it was my first chance in K1 that I just said, yes, that's my dream, to fight in K1. I don't care who you put at me, who you have, I will fight them. So let's call it to everybody. I think that's enough for today. As always, thanks for joining me. I will see you back here soon for another video.